Hello and welcome to Bloodsport MMA. Today with another Blood Talk. Today we'll talk about who is the most interesting guy in the UFC's lightweight division. In most of the people's opinion, the UFC lightweight division is the most stacked and most interesting division. My opinion on that, which division is the most interesting one, will come out in another video pretty soon. But as I said, most people believe it's the UFC's lightweight division. And now the question is, which fighter in that division is the most interesting one right now? You have guys like Conor McGregor, huge superstar, who fights in a lightweight division. He also fights at welterweight, of course, but he's a UFC lightweight. He's, of course, very interesting to watch. He's the biggest star on the roster, the biggest star to ever grace our planet in terms of MMA stars, and you always watch it. If you like him, if you hate him, you watch him. But he's not the most interesting guy in my opinion, because you can't match him up against everybody and he's always fireworks. If you have Islam Makhachev, he will just try to wrestle him and Conor will have a hard time on his back and so on and so on. But of course, he's also an interesting guy. Then you have Dustin Poirier. Great striker, great grappler, and can be matched up against anybody, in my opinion. Is always fun to watch, always brings the heat, always tries to bring the fight to you. So very interesting guy, but as we saw, as soon as the opponent is too good of a grappler like Charles Olives was, or Khabib, Khabib fight was fun, but still, you see, it still lacks a little bit. His grappling is very, very good, but it's not enough to win against these guys. I believe that, of course, he has the possibility to knock everybody out. But against these guys, I don't think that this will change in the future. Then you have Tony Ferguson, a legend, but he's 38. He won't fight for a title again, in my opinion. I would be very happy to see that, of course, but I don't believe in it.
Everything is possible in your life when you believe.
He's fun to watch, always, very fun to watch, but I don't want to see him matched up against everybody. Like, I wouldn't want to see him against Makhachev, to be honest. These wrestling heavy guys, because we saw that he's better in the stand-up than in the wrestling scrambles. Then you have, of course, the champ, Charles Oliveira. Amazing to watch. Can be matched up against everybody. Nobody is like too good for him in any part of the game. He's so good everywhere, and he can take a punch. And even if you knock him down, his guard is ready for you. So he's a very interesting guy, of course. He will be in my top 3 of the most interesting guys in the lightweight division. I love to see him fight, really. Always fun. He always brings the heat. But he's not my number 1.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm number 1.
Then you have Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is also up there in my top 3 maybe, but I would say behind Oliveira, because he brings the heat. He wants to have a bang in there, and I love that. He's crazy, and we love crazy fighters. He brings the heat. But we saw that he has a big lag in the grappling. Wrestling is one of his strengths, but as soon as it hits the ground, as soon as the fight is on the ground, he seems to have some kind of lags in his game. And yeah, that's a problem with him. I think, I bring up Islam all the time, but Islam is a guy that nearly nobody fought in the top 10 already. And I think Gaethje would have a big problem with him. And if we take the Islam fight as a reference, I don't think Justin Gaethje is the number 1 most interesting fighter. And we're talking about most interesting. Most interesting for me is like who is perfect to be matched up against everybody, who can win against everybody, who always will have a crazy fight no matter if it's on the ground, in the stand-up, wherever. And for me, there's one guy. There's one guy that I never thought would be there in this list. That's my number 1. But he is. And ladies and gentlemen, and UFC fans watching around the world, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. No joking, but it is Iron Michael Chandler.
The most entertaining lightweight on the planet.
Chandler, since he's been in the UFC, I think it's 16 months now, and he fought 4 times, all 4 fights, fight of the nights, all 4 fights, potential fight of the year candidates. First fight against Charlie Olives, nearly had him out of there. And the thing with Chandler is, he's probably the only one that knocked down Oliveira and didn't hesitate. Like, he doesn't he's not like, oh no, the guard of Charles Oliveira, I don't want to be in there. Of course, sometimes it makes sense, but he doesn't give a shit. He is straight up savage. He has no fear to take the fight to the ground. Also against Ferguson, who is a... Ferguson is a...
Start out talking too fast here.
Ferguson is not bad from his back. Ferguson has some chokes and submissions, and he didn't hesitate at all to take the fight to the ground there. He stands with everybody, he grapples with everybody, he just brings the heat all the time, and there was never a fight that he lost. He lost against Gaethje and against Oliveira, but there was never a fight that he lost and you were like, he can't win that. Like, every fight that he lost in UFC, I would love to see a rematch of those. I think a rematch against Charles and against Gaethje would be a great option. And there's literally no guy in the UFC's, let's say, top 15 that I wouldn't want to see against Chandler. I think Chandler can take on everybody. He can lose against everybody, but he can win against everybody. But it will never be a boring fight. You will never see Chandler in a boring fight. And we really need to appreciate him for that. Because he won't be in the UFC forever. He's 36. And he won't have like 10 more fights in the UFC. That won't be the case. So we need to appreciate every fight of him, as long as we still have him. And I hope he stays for a long time, as long as he can. And I can't wait for his next fight announcement, because no matter who he will fight, it will be a crazy banger. And I would love to see one of his fights live, because I think these are the kind of fights that if you see them live, it's a whole different experience than when you just watch it on TV. And yeah, in my opinion, he's the #1 most interesting and fun guy to watch inside the UFC lightweight division, and probably even in the UFC overall. Yeah, I can't think of anybody right now that is more interesting to watch, more fun to watch in the UFC right now. Against everybody, I really talk about against everybody. There's no guy that also Islam Makhachev. I think if Islam fights him, it will be a banger. It won't be, he won't just take him to the ground and just Kimura him like he did Hooker. It would be a war, and that's what I like. If you have any other suggestions, who is the most interesting fighter in the UFC maybe I forgot somebody, it's entirely possible, or in the UFC's lightweight division, hit me up, write it in the comments. Yeah, I would be interested to hear your picks, hear your takes, and I can't wait to tell you which division is, in my opinion, the most interesting one. Maybe in the next Blood Talk, we'll see. Until then, make sure to eat your vegetables, stay healthy, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Bloodsport out.
Eat your vegetables.